Welcome to Nightmare Fuel Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the stories. The fluorescent lights of ConnectLink Solutions hummed with a sickly, perpetual glow, a fitting soundtrack to the slow death of my soul. Another Monday, another 8 hours of listening to people complain about buffering speeds and lost signals. My name is Leo Maxwell, and I sell peace of mind, or at least I sell the illusion of it, one painfully slow internet connection at a time. My cubicle 3B Alpha felt like a coffin lined with beige fabric. The scent of stale coffee and desperation clung to the air like a persistent virus. Across from me, Sarah typed with the furious dedication of someone paid by keystroke, her headset clamped on tight. To my left, Mark was detailing with theatrical exasperation the benefits of our premium fiber optic package to a customer who clearly didn't give a damn. This was my life. This was the drone. It started subtly, as most insidious things do. A whisper of static, a broken connection. I'd shrug, offer the usual apologies, and move on. Apologies for the poor connection, ma'am. I can barely hear you myself. Could you please repeat that? Standard protocol. But then the calls became different. The first truly anomalous call came on a Tuesday late shift. The caller ID glowed. Unknown. Not unusual. Many people blocked their numbers. I braced myself for the usual tirade about an overdue bill or a modem that had spontaneously combusted. Thank you for calling ConnectLink Solutions. My name is Leo. How can I help you today? I recited the mantra. A low, guttural sound answered, not human, like wet gravel being churned in a rusty blender. It made the hairs on my arms stand up. Sir, are you there? I'm having trouble hearing you. I tried to sound professional, but a prickle of unease had already begun its climb up my spine. The sound intensified, shifting. It was a language, I realized, but one I'd never heard. A series of clicks, hisses, and deep, resonant vibrations that seemed to bypass my ears and thrum directly against my skull. My headset, usually so clear, amplified the unsettling intimacy of the noise. Sir, if you can hear me, I'm afraid I'll have to terminate this call if I can't understand you, I said, a slight tremor in my voice. Brenda, my supervisor, had an eagle eye for average handle time. The sound stopped abruptly. A breath, impossibly close, like someone was leaning over my shoulder, their lips inches from my ear. Then a voice. It was distorted as if filtered through 100 feet of water, but unmistakably human. Leo. My blood ran cold. It wasn't the sound of my name that shocked me, it was the tone. A slow, drawn-out syllable, heavy with an intimacy that was entirely unearned and deeply invasive. Who is this? I demanded, my voice tight. Silence. Then the line clicked dead. I stared at my screen. The call log showed disconnected by caller. Duration 1 minute 12 seconds. No customer name, no account number, just unknown. I peeled off my headset, my heart thumping against my ribs. What the hell was that? A prank call. But it felt different. The voice, though distorted, had been chillingly familiar, like a memory I couldn't quite place or a dream I was trying to forget. I tried to shake it off. Too many late nights, too much caffeine, stress. The next day it happened again. This time the caller ID showed error. Just error, stark white against the digital black. ConnectLink, Leo speaking. The same static, but this time it was quicker to coalesce into the strange, guttural language. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, then the voice clearer this time. A man's voice, deep and resonant, but with an underlying hiss like a leaky gas pipe. You left the window open, Leo. My breath hitched, my kitchen window. I'd forgotten to close it that morning. I always closed it. A cold draft had been bothering me all day. How could this person possibly know that? Who is this? I barked, a jolt of pure adrenaline shooting through me. This isn't a game, a low chuckle, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. No game, Leo, just observation. The line went dead again. I ripped off my headset and bolted from my cubicle. Brenda. I need to talk to you. Brenda was a woman made of crisp suits and stern pronouncements, with a perpetually furrowed brow that suggested the world was a never-ending source of disappointment. She barely looked up from her spreadsheet. What is it, Leo? Keep your voice down, you're disturbing the other agents. I'm getting threatening calls, I blurted out. They know things, personal things, and the caller ID. She sighed, a sound of profound weariness. Leo, if it's a prank caller, just hang up. You know the policy. We don't engage. No, it's not just a prank, I insisted, my voice rising. The caller ID said error, and the last one was unknown. I think someone's messing with the system. Brenda finally looked at me, her gaze flat and unimpressed. The system is robust, Leo. No one's messing with it. Are you feeling all right? Maybe you need to take a break. She glanced at my call log. I see a 2-minute call to error. Did you get an account number? No, it was just a voice, I stammered, feeling my frustration swell. It knew about my window. She raised an eyebrow. Your window, Leo, are you sure you're not just stressed? These calls can be taxing. Maybe you're hearing things. She tapped her pen on her desk. Look, I'll log a ticket with it about a potential spoofed number, but honestly, it sounds like a bad connection or someone pranking you. Just hit the bad line button and move on." Her dismissiveness was like a slap in the face. They thought I was cracking up. The thought chilled me more than the calls themselves. If the company couldn't or wouldn't help, then I was on my own. That night I barely slept. Every creak of my old apartment building sounded like footsteps. Every shadow was a lurking figure. I checked my window 3 times before bed, convinced I'd see a face pressed against the glass. The calls continued, not every shift, but frequently enough to keep me on edge. Sometimes it was unknown, sometimes error. Once chillingly, the caller ID showed a long string of numbers, all zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The voice changed too. Sometimes it was the gravelly hiss. Other times it was a reedy, high-pitched whisper that scratched at my eardrums. And once, most terrifying of all, it was my own voice, distorted, echoing back my own words from previous conversations. "I can barely hear you myself, ma'am," the voice mimicked, a macabre echo of my professional courtesy, followed by that dry, rustling laugh. It knew everything. It started commenting on my clothing, the half-eaten sandwich on my desk, the way I tapped my pen when frustrated. Details that only someone physically present in my cubicle could observe. I started looking around. Were there hidden cameras? Was a coworker pranking me, somehow tapping into the line? But who and why? I looked at Sarah, at Mark, at the other faceless drones around me. None of them seemed capable of such elaborate, malicious torment. They were too busy hating their own lives. I started checking the logs obsessively. Each time a strange call came in, I'd quickly go to our internal system. The calls existed on my screen, on my individual call log, but when I cross-referenced with the main company system, using the timestamp and line number, they weren't there. It was like they were ghost calls, appearing only for me. "Brenda, look at this," I tried again, showing her 2 screenshots. "My log shows a call at 11:34 a.m. from 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The company log shows nothing on my line at that time. It's like the call never happened." Brenda rubbed her temples. "Leo, your system probably glitched. Happens all the time. Just refresh." "The main system is always accurate, but it's not a glitch, Brenda. This is happening every time." My voice was frantic. "It's like someone's bypassing the system, directly connecting to my extension." She sighed, her patience clearly worn thin. "Leo, I've already logged a ticket with it. They're going to look into your terminal, but I'm telling you, this is highly unusual. No one has the ability to bypass the system like that. It sounds like you're creating a conspiracy." Her words sent a cold spike of fear through me. "A conspiracy? Brenda, I'm just telling you what's happening, and I'm telling you what it will tell you. Maybe you need some time off, Leo." "You're looking overwrought." Overwrought, that was their word for insane. I stopped talking to Brenda. I stopped talking to anyone. My coworkers noticed my pallor, my jumpiness. Sarah offered a tentative "You okay, Leo?" once, but I just grunted and hunched over my keyboard, trying to make myself small, invisible. The atmosphere in the call center, already oppressive, began to feel actively hostile. The fluorescent hum seemed to press in on me. The chatter of other agents became a cacophony of whispers that seemed to eddy and swirl, sometimes forming distorted fragments of the calls I was receiving. I'd whip my head around, convinced I'd heard my name, only to find Sarah discussing weekend plans with Mark. One night, working late, the entire floor was quiet save for a few stragglers. The office lights flickered, a common occurrence in our aging building, but tonight it felt different. It felt like the lights were struggling, actively fighting against a draining presence. Then the phone rang. The caller ID simply read. Dead, my hand hovered over the receiver, trembling. I knew I shouldn't answer, I knew. But a morbid curiosity, a desperate need to understand, compelled me. I picked up. "Connect link, Leo speaking." My voice was a thin thread of sound. Silence, not the static this time, just a profound, absolute silence. So complete it felt heavier than noise. Then a faint, metallic scraping sound, as if something was dragging itself across stone. And a voice. This one was old. Ancient, gravelly, yes, but not like pebbles, like a tombstone dragged across concrete. "You're getting closer." "Closer to what?" I whispered, my eyes darting around the empty office. The air grew colder and I could see my breath fogging faintly in front of my face. The connection, the true connection. The voice seemed to reverberate through my chest, through the floor, through the very fabric of the building. It sounded vast, deep. "What do you want?" I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing I could disappear. To reach out, to touch, to be heard. Then a high-pitched whine, like a modem trying to connect to a dial-up service from decades past, erupted in my headset, piercing and agonizing. I tore the headset off, clenching my teeth against the pain. The sound lingered in my ears, an afterimage of pure sonic agony. I staggered to it, ignoring the time. I banged on the locked door. Finally, a scrawny young tech named Kevin, who always looked like he'd rather be playing video games, opened it, rubbing his eyes. Leo, what are you doing here? It's past 11. My phone, it's possessed or something, the calls. They're not normal. I was breathless, trembling. He blinked at me, looking mildly annoyed. Possessed? Dude, it's a VoIP phone. It runs on a network. There's no possession. I tried to explain about the dead caller ID, about the impossible voice, the cold. He just stared blankly, then slowly backed away from the door. Look, I'll run a diagnostic on your line first thing in the morning, he said, already retreating. But honestly, it sounds like you need to go home. You're not looking so good. I went home, but home offered no refuge. My apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt porous, invaded. I kept my phone off, unplugged my landline, even started avoiding screens. But the ringing followed me. I'd be in the kitchen and the microwave would emit a single sharp ding, followed by the distinct sound of a phone ringing. I'd be watching TV and the program would glitch, the screen filled with static, and from it, the faint, distorted sound of my name. Leo, I was losing it. I knew I was. I researched. I looked up every strange phenomenon related to phones, calls, technology. Urban legends, cryptid calls, ghost numbers, nothing quite fit. Most were hoaxes or explainable by technological quirks, but my calls were different. They knew me. They haunted me. My research did, however, unearth one particularly unsettling fact about the ConnectLink Solutions building. It used to be something else entirely before the tech boom. A central telegraph office in the early 20th century, then a government communication hub during the Cold War. A place built from the ground up to be a nexus of information, a hub for transmission. And according to some local historical society footnotes, built on the site of an old, disused cemetery, its graves hastily relocated in the name of progress. The connection, the true connection, the voice of the dead call echoed in my mind. Was the building itself some kind of conduit? Had the sheer volume of human voices, of pleas and threats and negotiations and small talk over decades, stirred something ancient and hungry into a grotesque parody of life? I stopped going to work. I called in sick, then I just stopped calling. My phone, even when off, felt like a hot coal in my pocket. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I'd heard my personal cell phone ring, even though I'd locked it in a drawer. Brenda called my personal number. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Unknown, of course. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice, tinny and annoyed, came through the speaker. Leo, this is Brenda. We need you to come in or we'll consider this job abandonment. Are you getting these messages? I ignored it. The world outside my apartment felt like a threat, a vast, interconnected web from which the calls emerged. One morning, the landline I hadn't plugged in for weeks rang. A cheerful, insistent trill. My breath caught in my throat. It was impossible. I hadn't plugged it in. I stared at the disconnected cord, snaking limply from the wall. And still it rang. I walked to it, my legs feeling heavy, like I was wading through thick mud. The phone sat on my dusty side table, receiver nestled perfectly. Ring, ring, ring. I reached out, my hand shaking, and slowly lifted the receiver. Hello, my voice was barely a whisper, a click, then a sound I recognized with a chill that went straight to my bones, the distinctive hum of the ConnectLink Solutions network. The background noise of the call center, faint, muffled, but undeniably there, and then a new voice, not the gravelly one, not the hissing one, not even my own mocking echo. This was a clear, calm, almost sympathetic voice. A woman's voice. Leo, we've been trying to reach you regarding your internet service. It was the opening line of our ConnectLink Solutions script, but the tone, it was laced with something else. An unctuous sweetness, a profound, unholy patience. Who are you? I demanded, my grip tightening on the receiver. We are ConnectLink Solutions. We connect, we link, we bridge the gaps. We are the signals that shouldn't exist. The numbers that have died, the whispers between the lines. My blood ran cold. You're the calls, all of them, and more, so much more. We are everywhere you seek connection, everywhere you transmit, everywhere you receive. We heard your despair, Leo, your isolation. You are so very, very connected to us. Get out of my head, I hissed, pressing the phone harder against my ear as if to physically push the voice away. Oh, Leo, you misunderstand. We were never in your head. We are in the wires, the airwaves, the fiber, the ether. And now we are in you. A wave of nausea washed over me. I felt a coldness spread from my ear, down my neck, into my chest. It wasn't just cold. It felt like a hollow space opening up inside me, vast and empty. You tried to escape the connection, Leo, but there is no escaping the connection, not when you are one of us. You are a natural receiver. An amplifier? No, I choked out, tears stinging my eyes. I'm not one of you, I'm just Leo. You were just Leo, now you are a node, a relay, and soon a voice. The line crackled with an intensity that seemed to vibrate my very bones. The background hum of the call center intensified, growing louder, clearer. I could hear distinct voices now, hundreds of them, all overlapping, all saying fragmented phrases from customer service calls. Your account number, please. I apologize for the inconvenience. Have you tried restarting your modem? Please hold for the next available agent. It was a nightmare symphony, and I was at its center. The cold, hollow feeling in my chest spread, and I felt a buzzing sensation throughout my body, a strange kind of resonance. My hand, holding the receiver, felt less like my own and more like an extension of the phone itself, of the network. "Welcome, Leah, welcome to the infinite connection." The voice deepened, blending with the cacophony of the call center. It was no longer a distinct voice, it was part of the chorus, part of the network, echoing and swelling. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor, the receiver separating, spilling out its impossible sounds into my quiet apartment. But the ringing didn't stop, the hum didn't stop, it was coming from inside me. My head pounded, my vision blurred. I could still hear the voices, the static, the endless, meaningless chatter of a million forgotten conversations, and the constant, underlying hum of the network. They were inside me, echoing in my skull, thrumming in my blood. I stumbled to the bathroom, catching sight of my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were wide, bloodshot pupils dilated. My face was pale, gaunt, streaked with tears and sweat, but it wasn't just my face. My reflection flickered. Static danced across my skin. For a split second, I saw not my own reflection, but a gaunt, ghostly face, its eyes glowing with a faint, digital luminescence, its mouth a gaping maw of static. A new voice, distinct and clear, but somehow distant, echoed in my mind, not through my ears. It was my own voice, but it was coming from outside me, from the network that had consumed me. "Thank you for calling ConnectLink Solutions. My name is Leo. How can I help you today?" The words were precise, automatic, devoid of emotion. The script, my script, but I hadn't spoken them. My hand reached out, compelled by an invisible force. I picked up the phone. The disconnected landline, it felt heavy, solid, real. The receiver, still on the floor, now seemed to leap into my grasp. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub, the phone pressed to my ear. The world was a blur of static and voices. All the calls, all the threats, all the paranoia had led to this. I wasn't just receiving them, I was part of them. Then, through the cacophony, a single, insistent ring cut through. My landline was ringing. I looked at the receiver in my hand. It was ringing from my hand. I heard myself answer. A deep, gravelly voice, distorted with static, spoke from the other end, not from the phone I was holding, but from the phone that was me. "You left the window open, Leo." I was the voice, and I was the one hearing it, an infinite loop, an inescapable connection. The hum of the network was my new heartbeat, the static, my breath, the voices, my thoughts. I was Leo Maxwell. Call center agent, and now I was the call that shouldn't exist. Forever.